Good evening, Falcon fans. What is going on? Thank you so very much for attending another episode with your boys. Reporting eligible live 9 p.m. As you already know, it's Wednesday, and what that means is reporting eligible is on at 9 p.m. I myself, Berto, your host of 95 North Falcons Talk Show, and my guy Bro Talk, just bringing you the heat, man. But Bro Talk, you are a bit under the weather, man. How you
Yeah,
feeling, man? What's going on? Give us a scoop. What the hell? What'd you get into, man?
I don't know. My whole house got sick, and I thought I dodged a bullet, but apparently it's my turn. And yeah, a little under the weather, but I'm here. I'm excited. It's Falcons football. I couldn't miss the show.
Yeah, no, man, definitely. We appreciate your John Cena, your hustle, loyalty, and respect for the show and the platform. And to those in the chat, we thank you so very much for always joining us faithfully. Dwayne Ruffin, all the way from sunny SoCal, is joining us. What is up? Justin Swisher Sweets is in the house. Uncle Lou is in the house. Louis Algier, what is going on? KXPN, what's up? Jones Bone.
The Felipe Freaks have won. I'm gonna trademark that. I'm
Yo,
gonna trademark that.
seriously, man. It's crazy. Oh, Ted Grizzly, what's going on? Panic season is up. Yes. Young lady with the Canadian flag, salute. Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us this evening. Georgia, Texas boy, what is up? He says, what's good? Berto Bro Talk and Falcon family. The new era is here. The Atlanta Falcons will rise in 2025 and beyond. Get well, brother. Oh, man. Talk about get your juices flowing right there with that one, Georgia, Texas boy, man. Absolutely, man. Knuckles MMA coming in with a 17-0 season, young man. Hit the books, man.
Stop.
Pump the brakes for the guy.
Stop. We are Falcon fans, and we are a Falcon show, but we are realistic, sir.
Hey, now
Stop.
that's what I'm talking about. Mama Torres is in the house. Mama Bendición. Hope all is good with you, Mom. But we're here to break down the initial 53-man roster for our beloved Atlanta Falcons. Was finalized just a couple hours ago. Obviously, the practice squad also. So we're going to run down those names as well. But beforehand, we're going to hit you with news around the NFL. And a certain defensive end finally holds, I shouldn't say holds, ends a holdout, so to say. Trey Hendrickson gets a raise, a $14 million raise for this fiscal year of 25 with the Cincinnati Bengals. He has now reported to camp and will be ready to rock and roll week one. But Bro Talk, why the shenanigans from the Cincinnati Bengals? Why do that? Like, really, you just, that's animosity, that's hatred, that's a lot of things under a bad umbrella that Trey Hendrickson is like harboring for his team. And he's an unrestricted free agent next year. There's no chance he signs back with Cincinnati next year. He's going to be someone's, prize in free agency next year. Maybe the Falcons. But who, sorry, not sorry. But yeah, your take on the whole Cincinnati Bengals situation with Trey.
It's just a circus show. That Cincinnati Bengals organization, it's like Trey Henderson, and at the end of the day, won, right? They talked about it. The numbers were there. Like, the numbers were agreed upon. It's just Cincinnati wouldn't guarantee past the first year.
Right.
And like any player at the top of their game, right? We witnessed it with our own Caleb McGarry. You want to guarantee some of that money because you just don't know when an injury will come up. You just don't know. And so with Cincinnati not doing that and finally saying, fine, we'll give you a pay raise, and it's guaranteed. The best part for Trey Henderson that I think made him win is he can't be tagged. There is a no tag clause on that contract. So he can't, he is free to go wherever he wants. And it's like, the Bengals are going to be bad defensively. And your best player just wanted that second year out of the 3 guaranteed.
Yep.
The majority. He didn't say he wanted it all, but he said he wanted the majority of it. That's like the low of the low. And that's why I just don't, you wonder why big name free agents leave, right?
Yeah.
Jesse Bates, right? We got him from the Cincinnati Bengals. Most likely was because of the shenanigans they do when it comes to contract negotiations and guaranteeing monies. So it was a clown show. There's another clown show happening in Dallas right now with rumors circulating. And it's just like, when you know you've got a star
Mhm.
Get ahead of the game and pay your stars early.
Yeah. Yeah, and to that that whole Micah Parsons situations, I'll bring it up. You know, a young man by the name of Ricky, I believe his name is on
Uh, the dog.
the dog.
Trust the dog.
Right. I don't know how reputable he is.
He's
I
pretty accurate.
pretty accurate to your to
To
your
my
knowledge.
knowledge, I've spoken with Ricky
Okay.
personally, and if you remember last year, I
Yep.
broke the news of the Justin Simmons signing,
Yes. Yes.
and
Just before he signed.
Ricky DM'd me. He's like,
Yep.
"Good stuff. I've got the same info."
Oh, really?
So, and sure enough, like literally hours later, it broke.
Yep.
The big names, um, broke the news. So Ricky has everyone's like, this guy is an insider with a burner account that is doing this on the side. No one knows who he is, but 9 out of 10 times he is correct.
Yeah.
The biggest one that he failed on was the Brandon Ayuk trade, but it came out. They were this close to making that trade happen to the Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's crazy.
But yeah, he dropped a bomb yesterday.
Green Bay Packers.
Apparently, it's multiple firsts,
Mm-hmm.
a second rounder, a fourth rounder, and a fifth rounder. Plus, they already have $45 million per year on the
table. That's crazy. And owner Jerry Jones mentioned Micah's not being traded unless it's a Herschel Walker like compensation in return.
I mean, that's a pretty hefty deal. And
mm-hmm.
I mean, you reap what you sow, and Jerry did exactly that. Like, you waited. You could have gotten this deal done, and Michael was ready to sign, but you didn't want to do it. And then your pride got in the way.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's just I'm glad that's not our owner.
Now, you're Jerry Jones. Are you making that trade regardless of the Herschel talk or whatever? I look at it this way, right? You have
Mm-hmm.
Dak Prescott, who is he's a regular season warrior. We know his record in the playoffs is not as great, but he's getting up there also in age, and all these QBs are not built to last. I don't know if Dak's one of those guys that'll play until he's 35, 40 years of age, like we did see like a Tom Brady or quarterbacks like that. This quarterback class coming up this year, maybe one of the strongest ones to date in recent years.
It's going to be just as strong as the one where we got our franchise.
Well, we got our franchise quarterback,
yep.
Right? And you start to think, all right, what's the contingency plan in Dallas? What do they have behind? What do they have behind Dak if he falls off the rails?
Joe Milton, apparently.
Joe Milton. Oh, Bill, not him. Come on. No, but no disrespect to Joe Milton, man. He's one of those kids that he puts up a brilliant, a brilliant showing, and then he flatlines and he's up and down. He's a roller coaster. Right. But you got to start thinking as an organization, what's the best move? What's your best next move? You don't want to be in a predicament like the Falcons were. Let's be blunt. And if you can get premium picks like that for a franchise player, then that's enough to get you thinking, man.
I'm just gonna say this: if the Packers land themselves Micah Parsons across from Rashawn Gary, that's a Super Bowl favorite automatically.
100%.
Automatically.
Oh yeah, 100%, man, 100%. So before we go any further, Auntie Pam is in the building. Hi, Miss Auntie Pam. Hi, Miss Auntie Pam. Hi, Auntie. Rod is in the house. Oh man,
your buddy.
This is my buddy right here.
I watched the round table, and I saw the super chat. He does it just to get at you.
Oh, I love it, and you know what? I appreciate him. He's a faithful. He's there every Tuesday night at 8:00, and he's giving me shit. He's giving me hell, but I appreciate it. He says, I'm Kobe's friend, by the way. I know you're Kobe's friend. Kobe's the Pats fan. Ed Mitchell, what's going on? Michael Penix, do-rag, what's happening? Raphael something, what is going on? Exactly, man. Hit that like button as you guys come through, please. And if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, 95 North Falcons Talk Show, and at Dirty Bird Central. We would greatly appreciate it. Miss Lisa tapping in also, what is going on? But without further ado, let's break down and let's go through the roster, man. I'm gonna bring up the screen here.
Where are we starting?
Right from boom. Right here. We're gonna start here and we'll work our way all the way down. If that's cool with you. Is that good for you to see there?
cool. I'm good. Yeah, let's do
Let's
it.
do it, man. Obviously, two quarterbacks, Michael Penix and Kirk Cousins. Easton Stick was signed to the practice squad. He did return. So,
I'm glad they did it that way because there's no
yeah,
reason to roster a third quarterback
there isn't.
and eat up his spot. Like
Yep.
that's what I had predicted, and a lot of people were surprised when he was cut.
Yeah.
And like because it doesn't count against him to be elevated every week.
You're
That's
right.
what
Right.
people do because it was that new rule. So I like that move by the Falcons.
At running back, we already know Bijan, Tyler, but Nathan Carter, man,
Yeah, he had a
makes the
great camp.
roster.
Yeah.
He did. He had that, what is it, a 43-yard run against the Tennessee Titans, showed elusiveness, running in between the tackles,
Speed. And
speed.
And
So,
I think he's going to provide a little bit of juice in that return game, mainly in the kickoff game. So special teams is going to be a theme looking
mhm,
over that. And yeah, I mean Nate Carter earned that spot. Unfortunately for Carlos Washington, who we
yeah.
all thought early on this is going to be RB3.
Hmm.
You get hurt, and that next guy blows it out of the water. It's the NFL. That's the worst part of the business.
Yeah. Nathan Carter to me reminds me of Teron Ward when he was here in 2016. He filled in a pinch and still was
Oh.
pretty productive, has the speed, has the elusiveness.
Like a
Just
Jason Snelling type
Oh
guy.
man, we all love Jason Snelling, man.
Uh-huh.
Fullback converted running back. He was awesome, man.
Yep.
But yeah, Nathan Carter, I'm happy for him. I'm happy
Yeah.
for him. So yeah, he makes the roster, rounding out 3 running backs for the Falcons. This is the surprise here. 7 wide receivers for the Falcons. Jamal Agnew makes it as a wide receiver, known more so for being a running back or a gadget player. But Jamal Agnew rounds it out. David Sills the fifth. How shocked are you that he made it over a guy like Chris Blair and Falcon favorite or my favorite Nick Nash, man?
So the easiest way to tell that to like show indication something like that was going to happen is that last preseason game, right? It was still
Mhm.
kind of up in the air. Are
Yeah.
we going to only do 6? Because I felt strongly that Agnew was going to make it. Some people were shocked, but I think we signed him because of his return ability mainly, and maybe as a backup to Ray, that speed gadget guy. But when you saw David Sills not out there and Chris Blair and Nick Nash going into that fourth quarter against the Cowboys, that was kind of like, I don't think either of them
Yeah.
are going to make it. And
Hmm.
David Sills is safe. But then the question was like, are we really going to carry 7 wide receivers? And I think the answer is yes, because I think David Sills is going to play special teams. I think
Hmm.
Jamal Agnew is going to play special teams. I think Daryl Hott. We know
Yeah, we
Daryl
know
Hott
exactly.
is going to
Yeah.
play special
Yep.
teams. So you want to have those bodies there. I'm happy we brought both Blair and Nash to the practice squad. So
Yep.
if something does happen, we can elevate one of those. I think Chris Blair would be the first choice to elevate
I think so.
because a lot of people, Nick Nash was a fan favorite.
Yep.
Guys, he's only played the position for 2 years.
Hmm.
He's and the fact that he made it to the NFL, right? He was
It's a
brought in.
wonderful story.
That
Yeah.
means he's good enough to be that guy that everyone wants him to be. Let
Yep.
him continue to develop. We've seen this time and time again. Practice squad guys take a year or 2 on there, develop themselves, prove themselves, and then they're on the active roster. There's nothing that says Nick Nash can't do that.
Yeah, and sticking to the theme of the wide receiver spot, of obviously when news broke about Caleb McGarry and his unfortunate IR stint or loss for the season, we were all anxiously waiting to hear anything about Darnell Mooney, and we didn't. But that doesn't mean he's good to go or ready to go
Right.
for week 1. So
Look-
that's why I think we carried 7 wide receivers just in case. And oh, by the way, Ray McLeod has been a little bit banged up too. So sure, going into week 1, there are some uncertainties, and I'm sure that next week we'll find out a lot about, seeing as though it's game prep week against the Buccaneers. But that's the reason why I feel that's the reason why we carried so many wide receivers, because now obviously you can call up a Chris Blair, you can elevate a Casey Washington into the starting lineup, and it just gives you fluidity within that wide receiver room until these guys are ready to rock and roll. And obviously heads will start rolling. Maybe guys like David Sills, you mentioned special teams, but I can see him more getting kicked to the practice squad more than anything, and just keeping Jamal Agnew and dropping that receiver number to maybe 5 or 6. But it's a long season, and we just don't know right now. Everything is too early, but that's
Yeah.
the best
So,
possible outcome.
So the great point to keep your eye on Darnell Mooney. No IR with return, right? We
Right.
use those 2 for Storm Norton and Taquan Graham.
Yep.
No pup designation. Troy Anderson gets a pup designation. So that would mean if Darnell Mooney got that designation, he would miss a minimum of 4 games. But we still haven't heard anything. Raheem, everyone gets mad about his cryptic, way of addressing injuries. He just says, he's on the right track. Next week, when those first injury reports come out, if Darnell Mooney is a non-participant or a limited participant on Wednesday, the likelihood of him playing week 1 is very low.
Very low. And it's just, I don't know what the level of excitement would be, because we've heard so many great things about Casey Washington and him turning heads in preseason, really stepping up to the plate once Mooney went down. We didn't get to see any of Casey. He dressed for most of the games, but just saw no in-game action. So, we're all chomping at the bit, so to say, to see what he actually brings at that wide receiver 2 spot. And this is a guy that we all thought may be on the fringe, because let's not forget, we released last year's 6th-round pick in Chase McClellan early on this year. So we were thinking, man, is Casey Washington the next, guy to go from the 6th-round pick from last year? But he's still around, and I'm glad to see that he's still here. He provides, depth to the position, and just another body that knows Zach Robinson's system. He's going into year 2. Trimmel, what's going on, brother? Good to see you, man. Hope all is well with you, man. So going down, oh boy, tight end Felipe Franks.
Everybody needs to calm down. Calm down.
Where's
calm
Uncle
down.
Steve?
Calm down. Michael
guy.
Or the Felipe freaks. Calm down.
Unbelievable, man. But yes, 4 tight ends, which is an odd number to keep. We all know it's the Kyle Pitts, Charlie Warner show in Atlanta at the tight end position. Obviously, Kyle Pitts, the receiver of the tight ends. Charlie Warner he just cleans up. He's the dirty work. The wham blocks, the chipping and all that. That's Charlie Warner. I don't know what value keeping Felipe Franks does, or Tegan Quarantino. I mean,
there
Tegan would have been a nice one. Oh my God, is he in here? Yes, he is. Oh my God,
chat.
with the super chat, $10 bit, Uncle Steve. Thank you so very much, my brother. We definitely appreciate it, man. Uncle Steve's Lounge, a pillar in the Falcon community and also in the content creating space. He shows that it says Felipe Fever, catch it. I feel you guys on the wide receiver depth chart. Absolutely. Thank you, Uncle Steve. We appreciate it so very much. But yeah, Tegan Quarantino to me would have been a guy that I would have been fine with him not even being on the roster, really. He had 1 or 2 catches, and that's about it. What more can you do? I would have, actually, you know what? Did Joshua Simon make?
Yeah, he's on the practice squad.
He's on the practice squad. Okay. Appreciate that. Trimmel, respect to you, brother. We appreciate you being here this evening, man. Respect to the platform. Greatly appreciate that.
So I was a little shocked when I saw 4 tight ends, and I saw Felipe Franks on there. But then you start thinking, the biggest thing, right, to add value to your name is what you can do on special teams. And Felipe Franks has made a name for himself for being that special teams guy. He did it for Carolina last year when he was on that team.
Yeah.
And, when he made the switch from quarterback to tight end, they were working him in. He's the personal protector on punt. He's on kickoff. He's on kickoff return. And he's not – he gets in people's faces, which I respect. He runs that mouth, which I'm all about, right? And he's not afraid to lower his shoulder. Tegan, you're like, well, why do we have Tegan? Well, I have a feeling we're going to see a lot of 13 personnel with 13. maybe get this. Give me Charlie and Tegan in line with old Kyle next to maybe Drake or Darnell on the outside.
Newsflash, Kyle Pitts has been running with the wide receivers, so it's the thing to look out for. These are new little wrinkles that
time to get creative.
Absolutely.
It's time to get creative.
The work started last year with Kyle learning the position, or Zach having him learn the position a little bit more. Is this the year that plan unveils itself? We shall see. But Lisa goes on to say, I saw your meme, Berta, with the sad face behind the smiley mask. What's your confidence level with this roster? No, my confidence is still high. I was with the crowd where certain players that I felt should have made the roster didn't. But 24 hours later, I have calmed down a bit, but my confidence is still very, very high for this Atlanta Falcons ball club for 25. Moving on, and this is oof boy. Okay, the offensive line. All right, now right off the rip, there's two names that I'm like, really seriously, and that's Kyle Hinton and that's Jack Nelson. Jack Nelson to me played abysmal this preseason. Didn't matter if he lined up on the right side, didn't matter if he lined up on the left side, which he did against the Dallas Cowboys. And Kyle Hinton, I felt like he took a step backwards this preseason. Last preseason, he showed up. He showed to be pretty solid. He spot filled for 2 years ago when Chris Lindstrom
Yep.
was down. And
Yep.
he spot started. He held his own. But I just feel like Kyle Hinton was getting tossed around a little too much, and he was getting tossed around by third and fourth stringers. So that's a no-no. Who I rather had seen make the roster would have been Joshua Gray. And I know you spoke highly of Joshua Gray. And, this Falcons organization, they thrive off of players doing more than what they do. They like that, right? So Joshua Gray played all up and down the Oregon Beaver line. He was a tackle. He was a guard. He played center. So that versatility, I'm shocked that Atlanta didn't want that on their opening day roster. But I am happy that he did make the practice squad. So I would have flopped. Kyle Hinton, maybe back on the practice, elevate Joshua Gray. But your thoughts right quick on the Jack Nelson, Kyle Hinton situation, or if you would like to, randomly pick from the crowd there.
So, Javon Gwynn, I think we all saw was going to make this roster. He's a 7th round guy that's worked his way from the practice squad to becoming the backup center. Also gives you versatility at left guard to back up Matthew Bergeron. Kyle Hinton, I wasn't as surprised. I get the argument for Joshua Gray because I think it's there for him. He needs to work on his pass protecting and maybe a little bit on his run blocking. So to see him come back, I'm happy about. So in a couple of years, we may see him on the roster. But Kyle Hinton, yeah, he had a rough preseason, but I think the coaches feel confident enough that it was just some bad games. He can shake it off, be a solid backup because he is Chris Lindstrom's backup.
Yeah.
Jack Nelson, I was surprised, but I think he made the initial roster solely because they didn't have any other offensive tackles.
And I get it.
They were waiting. They were waiting for the waiver, right? They got a waiver from what was that kid's name from the Jets? I can't remember his name. That we got today.
Jesus, Warren Carter, I think it is.
Yes, so we got him. We made the trade. We made the trade with the Seahawks. So it's going to be a heavy competition now. They do have to make a move, right, for them to actually roster them, right, or make them a practice squad guy, and then you can flip flop them. Something's going to happen. And I think Jack Nelson may end up losing the job. I like what I heard saying that it's a competition. Whoever's the best guy between Elijah Wilkinson, Jack Nelson, Gerald, or the Carter kid, whoever's the best, that's who we're going to put out there for the time being, right? Because we know unless they kill it, right, before Storm Norton's back, we know once Storm Norton's ready to go, he's the starter.
How confident do you feel the Falcons are with, when you look at the first month, and I believe we talked about it last week, you look at the first month of opponents, right? You look at the edge rushers that are coming to town or that we're going to be facing. I think we agreed that the best out of the group is week 2 against Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then from there on, week 3 against Carolina, week 4 against Washington, there are games that, here we go. I got to say,
homemade, just off the grilled chicken. Yeah.
I love that.
For my taco lovers.
Breaking news.
Shit,
he's a man, bro.
You go ahead. Go in. I'm gonna take a bite real quick.
No, absolutely. So it might be where Atlanta might just roll with the players that they acquired. Michael Jarrell, we sent a conditional 7th round pick to the Seattle Seahawks to acquire his services. And I know that a lot of people said, he doesn't pop on film, but he did have that memorable game, I guess, in his debut versus Atlanta, which was, I guess, good enough. But otherwise,
I will say this. I haven't dropped the video, but I looked at his last game against the Packers because he started, and he actually went up against Rashawn Gary, right?
Yes,
one of the better edge rushers.
Yes.
He had a couple good reps, and then a couple bad ones where he got beat inside.
Mm-hmm.
So it all depends on how their pass protection is going to be. Are they going to be slide? I think primarily what they're going to do is they're going to slide right a lot. They're going to slide right, go that way to help them out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Gap control, gap protection. And they're going to leave Jake on an island because we know Jake
can hold his own.
He can hold his own.
Yep.
So that's what I think the protection is going to look like in the when it's a straight drop back pass.
And even at that, that's a pivot Zach Robinson would be making, because how many times did we see even that happen last year with Kirk or even Penix in limited action? Not a lot. So you would have to do it more often than not this year just to protect the deficiencies that are on hand. And we have a question here from Rod. He says, we have to deal with Hassan Reddick. Yeah, Bro Talk and I we were talking about that before we went on air. But what version of Hassan Reddick is Tampa really getting?
Washed.
You know, exactly. Like his last meaningful snap or 1v1 rep, I think it was when he was with the Eagles, man. If I'm not mistaken. So is Hassan Reddick actually even ready? He took no preseason snaps or reps this past preseason. So I don't know, man. I'm not a believer in Hassan Reddick, and hence the reason why he was a free agent for as long as he was, because teams don't have anything to go off of but tape from 2 or 3 years ago. But yeah, he says, Tom Brady says, Gary was okay. Send him to us. Come on. Oh my God. Yeah, I know New England was cutting tackles left and right. So I don't know. But yeah, Mike will use him. He's right up Mike's alley, man. Mike likes those tough, rugged offensive linemen.
Well,
yeah.
It'll be interesting to see this, the remaining of this week going into the week. They know what they've got their hands on. And they know Todd Bowles is going to be attacking that side.
Absolutely.
As he should, right? Any good NFL coach will look at the weakness and attack. So we know that's going to happen. 12 personnel to help.
Yeah.
Charlie Warner is going to be there. Whoever's at the right tackle, if you're sandwiched in between Charlie Warner and Chris Lindstrom on a run blocking scheme, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
It's the pass protection that's going to get a little hairy. And I think Bones and I touched on it. Is like, how does Dwayne and Zach coach up this player to mitigate the possibility of something going wrong? That's the biggest key, right? Because we know the deficiencies, right? They're not going to be at the level of Storm Norton. They're not going to be at the level of Caleb McGarry. Everybody wanted to trade for this Pro Bowl caliber guy. Guys, realistically, it wasn't going to happen, right? Terry went through a draft with only 5 picks this year. He's already down to 6, maybe 7 or 6 or 5, right? So he's trying to minimize giving up those picks, because the more you swing at draft picks, the more you're likely to get some hits, right? It's all percentages.
It's all percentages. No, you're right.
Eric DaCosta says that the more picks you have, the more likely you are to get someone that will make a difference on your team.
And Eric DaCosta, for those that don't know, that's the Baltimore Ravens GM, and you see how well that Ravens roster is structured. But last thing before we move on for offensive line, give me your week 1 prediction at starter for the right side. I'll give you mine. I think it'll be Elijah Wilkerson. But I think the battle comes between Michael Jarrell and Warren Carter as the swing tackle. And ladies and gentlemen, that's your starting, that would be your starting right tackle and swing tackle until Storm Norton is 100% to hit the ground running. And then I think that it'll be by default Storm Norton, Elijah Wilkerson, or a battle between Wilkerson, Carter, and Jarrell, for that swing tackle spot going forward.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you. Everyone needs to just prepare themselves for Wilkinson to be the starter. Don't listen to the doom and gloomers on Twitter, right? We're going to get through it. Is he going to be the best? No. Temper your expectations. But it doesn't mean we're going to automatically lose the game.
Right.
Okay? It doesn't automatically, like, everyone's like, oh, the Buccaneers are going to kill us in week 1. Brother, they're down their all-pro left tackle. They're down Chris Godwin. Hell, they may even be down Cade Otton. They're down, so many players. We don't even know who's playing linebacker next to Levante David. They just cut Anthony Walker. So it's like
Deion Jones.
That's what I said. I was trolling. And everyone's God.
I'm dead ass serious. I think he would be the next guy up. It would be Deion Jones, man.
Everyone, I had Buccaneer guys like, Deion Jones is Levante David's backup. I'm like, relax, bro. Like,
Yeah.
it was just a joke. But anyways, yeah. So everyone's writing us off over our right tackle, but apparently the Buccaneers losing their All-Pro left tackles, also the blindside tackle, not a big deal. So
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, both ball clubs are, going in a little banged up into week one. I think that, you tip your hat to Tampa Bay in that regard. Edwin R. I don't know about this. He says, hey, are the Falcons revealing rivals tomorrow?
jerseys.
Jerseys?
I haven't. Yeah,
Oh, yeah, okay.
the
I know where you're
Cardinals
going
and
with that.
Seahawks, and I think the Bills are.
Bills, yeah.
But I haven't seen any news of the Falcons having their own. So I haven't seen any of the NFC South have their own. So I don't know.
Hopefully. One more. They will need to get creative in their pass protection schemes. Absolutely. Washington did it last year and kept Jaden clean with low talent. And that's boom. There you go. It's a copycat league, right? So why not, man? Why
Yeah,
not?
if you want to know, Bones brings up a good point. They were in
Always.
heavy 12 personnel, chipping with both tight ends to give Jaden, even though Jaden can run, they didn't want him to run. They wanted him to be a pocket guy. And those chips were helping them so much. And they didn't have Laramie Tunsil back then. Andrew Wiley's not the best guy, right? They drafted Josh Connerly for a reason. So those type of things is what Zach Robinson is going to have to get creative with. I agree.
Yeah. Is the offer still on our roster?
Yes,
he's
and
still on there.
he had a good camp, guys. You can't take it away from him. He had a good camp and a good preseason. Like,
Yeah.
everybody needs to. We got to forget about last year. It's hard to, but we got to.
All right, moving down. Defensive line, Falcons carrying 5, as you see it here. David Onyemata, Brandon Dorless, LaCale London.
Ooh, you know how I feel about him, man.
No, Rook Oro, whatever the hell, how to pronounce it. It's late. And Zach Harrison round out your defensive line. Obviously, not on here is Simeon Barrow Jr. He unfortunately did not make the Falcons roster in any capacity, not even the practice squad.
So before you
but
go on,
yeah,
it takes 2 to tango. So the Falcons could have offered him, and he could have said no.
That's true too.
We don't know.
Who you don't see on here is Taquan Graham, but he's on an IR stint, and he will be back at some point during the season. He's been out with a calf injury, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
But this is your defensive line, these 5. Also, who you don't see, Morgan Fox, who was cut on Saturday. And I'll tell you this, man. I think Simeon Barrow had a lot to do with Morgan Fox no longer being on this roster and Taquan Graham. Morgan Fox was our get in free agency, but he was a low-level signing, really, and he just didn't pan out, unfortunately. And it was doom and gloom for him playing into the fourth quarter of that Cowboys game. And we knew the writing was on the wall in some way, shape, or form.
Bro, people were coming for my head when I said it. You might not make the roster.
Oh, bro, I was right there with you. I was like, I don't think Morgan Fox makes the roster either, man. He's just been getting way too much burn in this preseason, and you've seen guys like Rook, they scale back on him a bit. Brandon, they scale back a bit on him. Omenyata got absolutely no burn in the preseason. But how we feeling about this defensive line? Any upgrades you think the Falcons may come around to, or are you sold?
I'm sold, but I am a little surprised they're only carrying 5. I thought it would be at least 6. That's why I thought Simeon Barrow was going to be the guy that made it over Morgan Fox. But I'm okay with 5 because I think we've got, some good mix of run defenders plus pass rushers from the interior, guys that, when you get to the edge rushers, I think we're going to see a lot of NASCAR packages. Yep. For those of you that don't know, it's a speed. So you'll have more than one edge rusher or more than 2 edge rushers on the field at once. But I think we got the best of the bunch. TQ getting the IR spot, coming back with a designation to return, I think, bodes well for him. I don't know. I think maybe we waive at different position, like the wide receiver position, where we have 7 to increase it to 6. But overall, I think they chose the right guys. I think we're finally at a point where they're picking the best players at the positions that they have.
Yeah, and you notice, the majority is all young guys. Brandon is young. LaCale's relatively young. Rook, obviously, and
The
Zach. These guys are all
yeah, I was gonna say Anyamata's the vet who's what, 6 years in, 7 years in,
7. Yeah.
and Zach's in his third year.
Yeah.
Rook, what year did London enter the league? I don't even know that.
I have no. Yeah, I don't even recall.
Um, but to answer the question on how I feel about LaCale London, I've been a LaCale London fan ever since, what was it, 2021, 22? Yeah, 22 or 23, one of those years where he first came onto the scene.
Oh,
He's
23.
He's
It
a
was 23.
great run defender.
Yep.
You want that big boy in the middle. Great run defender. You need those defensive tackles that are just great run defenders. Pass rush, not the best, but I'll take stuffing an A gap over, potentially getting to the quarterback, right? You won't see him on those 3rd and longs. You're going to see him on those maybe 1st and 10s, 2nd and longs type situation.
So I have one for you. You look at this defensive line, and I think that one thing is synonymous with it going up and down. It's limited weight or limited size, right? A lot of these guys aren't that big. Zach Harrison can kick in, in certain packages or passing situations. He'd probably be your bigger guy, but we don't have that true run stuffing body, and we're more now into an attack style front. Do you think that the Falcons have enough weight with these 5 defensive linemen right now to hold their own against the run? Because you would think that offensive lines or teams might wham block, might double on a guy like Brandon Dorless or Rook to take him exactly out of the lane, and then it just goes into the second level of a defense, which we all know and we'll touch on soon. The Falcons aren't 100, let's just put it that way, at that position. There's a new start in Divine Diablo. We have the mainstay in Caden Ellis. But what do we need a big body, you feel, on this rotation going forward?
So LaCale London's our biggest body, right? I think he weighed in at 310.
330.
Yeah. Oh, okay. He's up to 330. So
yeah.
The biggest downfall of an attacking front and an undersized line is like your duos, your gap scheme runs, powers, wham blocks, crunch blocks. That's where coaching, comes in and your technique, right? The way these undersized linemen, and I haven't seen Rook or Brandon really do it in preseason, but if you look at Byron Murphy of the Seahawks, he was a big, that's where I first started noticing it and saw it being taught more. When you get doubled, he gets on one knee and he anchors with his back leg, and that's called tripoding. And it's a way for him to not get moved and then shed the block and still maintain his gap.
Yeah.
Okay. Because they're going to be so attack heavy and getting up the field. When you set trap blocks or crunch blocks or wham blocks is guys have to be disciplined enough that, yes, you have to get up the field, but if you get up the field way too easily with no resistance, what's coming my way?
Yeah.
Right. And if Braylon Trice on the edge shows a really good instinct of that, and so does Jalen Walker, but the interior have to be disciplined in that to where they can take on that trap block, that wham block, and blow it up. Because if you attack them and not get caught off the surprise, well, you just blew up their entire play, and now the rest of the defense is coming in.
I like that point. Man.
So it's all about discipline and coaching.
It's all about discipline, yeah.
Because that's one thing. If you watch the Houston Texans, right, they're an attacking style front. That's where teams like the Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills, they have success in their run games because they are running more gap scheme runs. And that's their attackers are getting too far up the field and just getting washed out. Well, now the gap is wide open.
And you mentioned the Houston Texans in attack style front. Hence the reason why Jeff Ulbrich brought in Nate Ollie as our new defensive line coach. So coaching matters. And I'll say this before we part. Coaching matters, and there's one player on this defensive line that has benefited the most, and that's Brandon Dorless. And he's played. It's been night and day. I know that he was lost in the scheme last year for Jimmy Pond, and it just wasn't a good look. The Falcons had, I think, 7 or 8 defensive linemen last year.
Really?
They carried all of those linemen. And what was the majority of the Falcons' defense prevent? It was a bad combination where you didn't need to have that many defensive linemen to fit your scheme. Yep. So now, coaching matters. Now they flip the narrative, and now we have the appropriate bodies to go on to the big nickel or the dime or base defense that Ulbrich may be trotting out this year. But moving on to the juice, and that's the edge rusher. The edge rushers. We kept 6, and this room entirely revamped from last year.
Night and day from last
Night
year.
and day from last year. The mainstay here, Arnold Ebiketie. But if you look at the names, Leonard Floyd, this year's draft pick 15th overall, Jalen Walker, this year's draft pick 26th overall, James Pierce Jr., Braylon Trice, a returning former third-round pick of the Falcons last year, and D'Angelo Malone. I got to take on D'Angelo Malone, but I'll give way to you and your thoughts right quick on this edge group. It's phenomenal. I think it's the most versatile pieces of guys pieces of talent that this Falcons organization has had in a very long time. Each one of these guys brings it in their own way. And, we won't talk sack numbers. We'll leave that maybe for probably next week. But your edge group this year is as follows. What is your take, brother?
I think it's a good mixture of speed, pass rush, and anchoring, because I think Braylon Trice and Jalen Walker are going to be holding that strong side. They're going to be our Sams. And yeah, Caden's going to be mixed in there too.
it.
I think they're going to be our Sams or potentially Leos, depending on how this regime calls it. They're going to be those guys on that strong side. And Jalen Walker, I think I saw someone on Twitter say it. He anchored in and held that edge the best out of anyone. Okay?
He took on those lion guys like
and
tomorrow,
those guys
bro.
towered over him. They
sure
amassed him, and he was anchoring in. Sure, he didn't bring you pass rush juice right off the bat, but hey, if you set an edge and you don't move, you're doing your job, and that was great by him. Braylon Trice does the same thing, and then you get a mixture of speed, right? Arnold Ebiketie, Leonard Floyd, James Pierce Jr., and then everyone's upset about D'Angelo Malone over Khalid Kareem.
Yes.
Khalid Kareem, I saw some good points of, some back and forth, between Locked On Falcons and the Falcoholic is
shout out Aaron Freeman.
Yeah. R.I.P. Falc fans, as he said, Mr. AKA, but
he's the man.
He brought up a good point, right? We talked about why Felipe Franks made the roster. It's the same reason why D'Angelo Malone made the roster. The likelihood of D'Angelo Malone being in there in a critical third down situation is very low. Okay. But he led the team in special teams tackles. You can't overlook that.
Right.
And now he's getting some snaps on the inside, getting a position switch potentially. So that in itself is the reason I believe they lean more him over Khalid Kareem, because Khalid Kareem is like a Jalen Walker, is like a Braylon Trice, more of an anchor guy versus a pass rush guy. He can set the edge. He's a run stuffer. They would rather have speed over run stuff. So that's why, and then they want more special teams, right? So that's why that decision was made. I think this is by far, D'Angelo Malone aside, this is one of the best edge rush groups we've had in a long time.
Very long time. And it kind of makes the conversation, a little bit quick. You know what we're going to get from this edge group, not in stats, but physicality, speed, IQ with Leonard Floyd. It's there. Leonard Floyd will probably lead the group in certain categories, and that's okay for being a veteran, as long as these young bucks, they come along very well. But let's react right quick, if you have a sec, on Louis Riddick saying that James Pierce Jr. will lead the NFL in sacks.
Yeah, that's putting a lot of pressure on. Well, and he probably doesn't care. He's probably like, I'm not worried about what they're saying, but It's been a while. I tweeted out, like, never thought I'd see the day where an NFL analyst on ESPN would say a Falcon would lead the league in sacks. When's the last time? Vic Beasley was the last time.
Yeah, Vic Beasley.
We know how he fizzled out, but that's a lot of pressure to put on a young guy. And it sets up maybe some unrealistic expectations, because a rookie edge rusher in double digits is very rare. And if you can get that, you've got yourself potentially a future Hall of Famer. TJ Watt did it, Myles Garrett did it, Micah Parsons did it. But if he doesn't surpass double digits, there's nothing wrong with that, right? We're just looking for him to affect the quarterback and, yes, get sacks. We want sacks. We're tired of being at the bottom in sacks. So
we're definitely tired.
I think we will come out a lot quicker out of the gate. Like I'm so ready for week 1 to just bust the freaking door down.
Let's go, man.
For any of my, if any of you have watched Sonic 3, Sonic 3, the scene where Knuckles punches that wall down, steel plate wall. For those of you that seen that, that's what I want to do. I want to punch that wall down and let the NFL know. It's the coffee. The coffee's kicking in.
I hear you. I
want to just prove everyone wrong and talk my ish. I'm so like I have this pent up, like the bottle is about to burst with ish talk once the Falcons show the world that hey, we're for real. And all those like top 5 talk, top 10 pick talk, all that nonsense you guys talked about, you guys are idiots.
Yeah. I got one more thing, but I got to shout out Miss Christy Lewis that's in the chat of the Ladybirds of AFN. Shout out to you, Christy Lewis, and the ladies of AFN. Appreciate you tuning in. And please, 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 please go follow Miss Maggie Thornton, Christy Lewis, Auntie Pam, and the rest of the crew on AFN Ladybirds. So going to James Pierce Jr., right? There is a stat from last year, and that pertains to Jared Verse and the amount of pressures he was able to generate, which was 77. Can James Pierce Jr., can he come close to that? As we all know, Jared Verse took, defensive rookie of the year last year, only had 4 sacks, but it's those pressures, those moments where he created the havoc that allowed guys like Kobe Turner, Bryant Young to just feast on quarterbacks. Could we see that same style potential, or do we have the bodies on hand for James Pierce to have that sort of impact like Jared Verse did?
We do, because even though he's a smaller frame, the way Jared Verse doesn't beat you with speed. Even and James does. Jared Verse beats you by showing speed and going to power. Right? Speed to power. I bet you James is close to in strength as Jared Verse. And so James not only can beat you just running around you, right, without any flashy pass rush moves, but he could probably show that and then get in your chest and knock you over and get to the quarterback. So that's what makes, we talked about it. And I see people talk about all that. James Pierce Jr. was the more NFL-ready edge rusher of the 2 guys that we drafted. We knew Jalen Walker was going to be a work in progress, and the coaches are fully invested in getting this guy where he needs to be. So,
and we saw the traits that, from the first preseason game. We knew coming in, Jalen Walker was going to be a stout run defender from that linebacker spot or edge spot. We knew that. That's hence the reason why our reaction was what it was, the night of the draft. Like, oh, man. But, dust settled. We understand the vision. We know, what opportunity he's going to get as a pass rusher. We just need them to slowly get there. The guy that we know can get there is James Pierce Jr. And he's been doing that in preseason, and we just can't wait for him to unleash hell week 1. So like Lisa says, bro talk, I'm ready to pop off. Hashim Graham, what's going on? Winston Thornton, the eye test. What is going on, brother? What's going on to the fellas in the chat? Smash that like button, please, as you're coming in or coming through just to say hi. Please hit that like button. There's 442 of you currently watching. We certainly do appreciate you guys taking some time out of your busy Wednesday evening. But moving on to the inside linebacker, Falcons kept 4. Obviously, no Troy Anderson. He's starting on the pup list. But Caden Ellis, Divine Diablo, the Avatar, J.D. Bertan, and Josh Woods. Josh Woods is a guy that went after it, got after it, and earned it. Loved everything about Joshua Woods this preseason. I was the least impressed with J.D. Bertan, who looked slow at times, recognizing run fits where he was behind the 8 ball on.
He was getting run over too.
He was getting run over. This is where I had an interesting take for D'Angelo Malone. I would have much rather see D'Angelo Malone as your inside linebacker penciled in here, and J.D. Bertan not on the roster, maybe on the practice squad. I think D'Angelo Malone, sure, he gets flack for, what he did in the Washington game, what he may offer as an edge rusher, but that transition he made from edge to linebacker was real. And I was there personally. I was there the first couple days of training camp, and D'Angelo Malone looked to have settled in that inside linebacker position. He did flash in that Detroit game. He also flashed in the second game against Tennessee. So the arrow, I feel like for D'Angelo in the middle, it's trending up, and with opportunity there presenting itself with Malik Verdon, we didn't get to see him. Obviously, Troy getting no burn. I thought that D'Angelo Malone, I felt like he in some ways outplayed JD Bertan. Give or take, like it or not, that's just how I felt. But I would have gave that last edge spot to Khalid Kareem, and I would have penciled in D'Angelo Malone as an inside linebacker. It would have been Malone, Ellis, Diablo, and Woods. Malone would have added more size, more speed to the inside linebacker to go alongside Divine Diablo, the avatar that we, by all accounts, has had a fantastic, fantastic not preseason, but training camp. So we're all, waiting to see what he's going to do and unleash as the second inside linebacker to Caden Ellis. But your take on the inside linebacker crew in the 4 that we kept?
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of with you. I think JD Bertrand, it's too fast for him. The game's too fast for him.
Yeah,
and he's late reacting. He's late to his run fits, and then he's not able to when he meets the running back in the gap. It's like he's not winning. And he had a rookie in Jadon Blue that
ran over him.
Yeah, he ran over him. I mean, he didn't run over him, but he hit him and he rolled off of him and got in the end zone. I think this is another special teams guy. I think that's solely why he made the team. Now, the biggest question is once Troy Anderson gets off the pup, who's on the chopping block? And I think JD's first up because I think Josh Woods also gives you special teams upside.
He does.
Because, he showed that in the preseason. And I think they would much rather run with Caden, Divine, Troy, and Josh. And then potentially JD lands himself on the practice squad. Those concussions may be catching up to him. Land yourself on the practice squad, young buck. Learn the game a little bit more. Develop, it may be a strike to the ego, but sometimes you just need to take a step back and watch things. And, as you grow, you get better. So I think that's what the plan is. If not, they may have listed D'Angelo because D'Angelo's still listed as an edge rusher, right?
Yeah.
When we get a little bit lower, there's a guy that I thought would be listed as a safety, but he's not anymore. So that's where when I saw this, I was like, okay, I think they have a plan for Troy to come back, and it might be, JD goes to the practice squad and he gets activated.
Things have to be spoken about, right? And topics do have to be brought to light because in the NFL, like anything is unpredictable, right? For all the hype Jalen Walker offers and the plan that we have in place for him as an edge rusher. Now, is there a possibility that as the season progresses and Atlanta and the coaching staff doesn't like where it's going with Jalen, do they transition him to linebacker and allow him to play at his strength? No? You feel no? Why?
They are committed to making sure this guy knows what he's doing on an edge rusher. And Jalen Walker is that type of player, right, that loves the game enough that is going to continue to work on his craft and become the best edge rusher that he could possibly be. Could he eventually land himself like a Micah Parsons role where sometimes he's not on the edge, but he's still rushing the quarterback? Maybe he's up the middle. Yes. Like Caden, like a NASCAR package.
Yeah.
There's nothing that says he won't do that. But just straight up lining up as a Micah or Will, no, you guys need to stop. That ship has sailed. And if Georgia would have done that primarily for him as a Micah or Will, okay, then at that point, coaches are like, okay, this is where he needs to be.
Very beautifully said. We shall move on to the topic. Off the topic, I should say. Very good. Cornerbacks, 7. AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes, Billy Bowman, Clark Phillips, D. Alford. God damn it, Mike Ford just sticks to you like gum on a shoe.
Special teams matter.
Yeah, they do. They do. And Natron Brooks, who has had a phenomenal
preseason MVP, man.
Absolutely. Came up with a interception in that Tennessee Titan game, and that's all in thanks in part to James Pierce Jr.'s rushing efforts. But Natron Brooks, 1 INT. But this rounds out, and obviously, everybody's favorite Hawk Mamba, not didn't make the roster, but that's because he had some injuries that was holding him back through preseason. But he did make the practice squad, which after the safety and special teams we'll break down real quick.
Look at Natron Brooks, man.
Yeah,
undrafted free agent, practice squad a couple years, and now he's made the roster. It's the same type of route that Kobe Bryant will go through.
Yep. And out of those guys, I think Kobe probably has the highest upside. That he offered on Mike Ford or even a Natron Brooks. Yeah, I'll say it. He's right there. He'll be right there with Clark Phillips, and Clark Phillips, I felt wasn't going to make the roster.
I didn't think he was, but there's got to be something there that the coaches see. It's like, okay, he's worth keeping on this roster. And I talk about all the time. Clark Phillips is a technician. His technique is there. It's just God did not gift him with a little bit more size. And, he's got, they worked him inside, didn't work out, primarily outside. So I think it's going to be AJ Terrell, Natron Brooks is his backup, Mike Hughes, Clark Phillips is his backup, and then whoever starts at nickel, whether it's Billy Bowman or D, and then Mike Ford will be that kind of floater because he got some nickel reps in the preseason. He'll be that floater guy. But Mike Ford is just a special teams guy. Like, he's going to be one of our gunners. That's why he was signed, guys, not to play corner, right? We don't want him to play corner.
No, you don't want him to play
corner.
It's
just that's what his position, so that's what he was signed for.
Yeah.
I think this is a solid group. I know a lot of people are like, why is D. Alford on my team? He had a great camp. He showed his ability, new coverage schemes, new responsibilities. I still would like to see Billy Bowman start the year at nickel, but don't be surprised if D starts the year there, and then Billy Bowman eventually becomes the starter. So, or they may get swapped out. We saw it a lot with Mike Hughes and Clark Phillips last year. They got swapped out at times, to get some reps, get some live action so the coaches could see and make the best decision possible. But AJ Terrell, Mike Hughes, those are your two starters.
Those are your two starters. Yep. Point blank, period. Safety. Man, 3 safeties. So the starting duo for week 1, Jesse Bates and Xavier Watts, or does DeMarco Helms? Is DeMarco Helms knocking on the door? Because, man, did he come out the gate swinging? DeMarco Helms did in that Lions game, and we didn't really see too much of DeMarco after that.
So DeMarco, I think, still has to work on his coverage recognition and his coverage ability. Okay, know when to grab the hip and run. But he's a great run. He's a great run fit guy.
Yeah.
I could see them put out Marco with Bates to start the year, but I could also see Watts out there. Watts' instincts are far better than DeMarco's, but DeMarco's that thumper, that guy across the middle of the field that's gonna make receivers shorten their arms a little bit to brace for impact type deal. And they got film on that this preseason, so it'll be interesting who they put out with Jesse Bates. I will say that, because the coverages I saw, now this could be just because it was preseason, it was a lot of cover 6, cover 3s with quarter halves. Sometimes you saw the safety come down as a buzz coverage. Sometimes you saw the corner take a half of the field. So it's going to be interesting what they end up doing week 1. Chris Godwin isn't on the PUP list week 1, but the likelihood of him playing, I don't think it's that high.
Yeah.
So you're really, and then Jalen McMillan, right, dealing with the neck injury.
He's going to be out for a while too, man.
And then they just let go of Trey Palmer. So then it's like, okay, it's going to be
primarily out too.
Cade Otton. So it's mainly Mike Evans and Emeka Egbuka, even though rookie,
slouch, man.
No, you cannot overlook him.
Nope.
Mike Evans is Mike Evans. We know who he is. So it'll be interesting to see once that first depth chart is released, which I think it's released early next week.
Yeah, on Tuesday or Wednesday or so.
Yeah.
But Glory Hands is in the house, brother. Glory Hands, I believe, is from the motherland of Puerto Rico.
Oh,
and
nice.
he's been a faithful. So Vaya, appreciate you tuning in. He says,
Nice.
I'll be there week 1. Absolutely.
Welcome.
Bring the energy, man. If you're flying from Puerto Rico, have a safe flight and just enjoy the hell out of the stadium, brother. You're going to have a great time.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. So rounding out, Young Wei Koo, Bradley Pinion, Liam McCullum. We all saw, Young Wei Koo miss one, and we all probably were on pins and needles.
Everybody was freak out mode. Oh my God, it's over. We're doing this again. But
Yeah.
you know what? Lenny Craig is on the practice squad, so
Yep.
he's on that international player path. And so if Young Wei does have his struggles, which I think he'll be okay. Not every kicker is 100%, right? We look for 90%. Um, he'll be there, and he doesn't eat up a practice squad player
Yeah.
a spot. So the Falcons actually still have a couple. I think they have one slot left.
They have 50. It's a 52-man roster now. 53 is the lock. Could the Falcons be active on the phones trying to facilitate something? We don't know. We don't know. But there is one spot open. But here's the practice squad. It's finalized. You got your guys here. Go
I
ahead.
like Ronnie Harrison. I
Me too.
like that.
He played great as a
I thought
linebacker.
he played awesome, and I
They
think
got
the
him as
only
a
reason,
safety though.
well, yeah, because he is a safety, but he was playing
Yeah,
linebacker.
he's playing
And
linebacker.
so he's that mold that Joe Ulbrich loves.
Loves that.
And so I wouldn't be surprised if he does get called up. Injuries throughout the year do happen. And I think Ronnie Harrison, although he's not the best, showed you enough where you're like, okay, I feel comfortable with him going out there. Same thing with CJ Henderson. They both came in late in the camp. If they had the same camp that they had, that little time, we could have seen them make the roster. So another one I wouldn't be surprised make the roster eventually is CJ Henderson.
Absolutely. I was going to go there too. I was like, I think CJ Henderson probably will be a lot to make, be elevated sometime soon. And also Khalid Kareem. I think those two guys there might be, on the uptick. But as you see it here, Chris Blair, Kobe Bryant made it. Dylan Drummond, not mad that Dylan Drummond got a spot. He was very active this preseason. Easton Stick did target him a lot in the first two games, but then he kind of just, took a dip in the second half of that Titans game. Don't know why. They didn't go to him as much. Joshua Gray, a very versatile offensive lineman, comes back. We just spoke about Ronnie Harrison and CJ Henderson and Khalid Kareem. Nick Nash comes back, a raw wide receiver still, but there is potential there. So we're excited to have him back. Brandon Parker makes it back to the practice squad. Joshua Simon, the South Carolina tight end, makes it back. Of course, Easton Stick. Contavia Street, shocked to see that he made the practice squad. I thought he would have been kept around, but dang, it is what it is. But he's there. And Carlos Washington Jr. rounds out our practice squad for 2025. And that will conclude that portion of the practice squad situation and the initial 53-man roster for our Atlanta Falcons. Our 2025 schedule is already set in stone, and so is the roster. Bro Talk, anything you want to add to before we head out, man?
Guys,
here we go.
Don't fall for the doom and gloom. Okay. It's okay to be skeptical. Okay. But when you have a positive outlook and spin it in a way where it's like, okay, maybe this can work, you'll be a lot happier. If you want to be doom and gloom, by all means. Me personally, you know me. I'll be your optimistic outlook in the Twitter space. So if you want to be negative, by all means. But just know you don't have to always be negative. There will be losses. You'll see me crash out from time to time as the season goes. I'm human. I'm human.
I'm here for a Bro Talk crash out. Those
am
are
human.
Phenomenal.
But like everything is going to be okay. It's okay that our fourth string guy didn't make the roster, but he's on the practice squad. It's all about having the right depth guys because we know who the 11, right? Majority. We know who the 11 are on each side of the ball that are going to be out there. So now it's all about putting the pieces together, getting your game plan ready, and going out week one and kicking their ass so the whole national media eats their words and we can say, no, thank you. You stay on that side. We'll stay on this side.
I'm ready to run through a wall for that guy right there. My co-host is fucking lit. But as always, man, thank you everybody for coming through this evening. Almost 500 eyes in tonight's episode. We certainly do appreciate it very, very much. And please, if we're not asking for too much, please hit that like button and hit that subscribe button to the platforms on the ticker at the bottom at Dirty Bird Central on YouTube and 95 North Falcons Talk Show on YouTube. But Bro Talk, I just plugged your YouTube. Please take it away. Where else can folks find you on your socials, man?
If you're a TikTok watcher, short form content at Dirty Bird Central, try and get it daily, not just Falcons, but NFL in general, what's going on, film breakdown if you like that. Also posted on YouTube. So if you like YouTube shorts, it'll be there. Instagram as well. And then at Twitter, at BK Squared still, because hey, I'm dragging those feet. I got toe tap, drag, swag, whatever it's called. And I'm pretty active on there daily, give my thoughts, argue with some people, mute some people, I like to keep the vibes high. So don't let the negative Nancy's ruin your day.
Boy, oh boy. Mactown Dirty, we certainly appreciate it. T. Terry, thank you so much for being here this evening. Thank you to everybody. I'm your boy Berto, your host of the 95 North Falcons Talk Show. You can catch me here on YouTube every Wednesday night live alongside my guy Bro Talk, reporting eligible live every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern time. Also, you can find me on Bleacher Report Monday through Thursday, dropping short form content, God damn it. Every single day, you'll have something from me on all topics relevant to the Atlanta Falcons. And post-game reactions, you already know. Bleacher Report is the spot for it. I'm there breaking down, reacting, and analyzing what went good and what went wrong on our Sunday's victory or loss for these Atlanta Falcons. And, oh, by the way, if you haven't heard by now, I am also on the NFC South Roundtable. Join us Tuesdays at 8 p.m. where the fireworks are certainly aplenty. So grab your popcorn and come on through, support the platform, hit that subscribe button. But that's also another platform you can find me on, Roundtable Sports. But until then, we will give you your Wednesday evening back. Thank you so very much again. Next week, folks, we will be talking Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And listen, man, tell a friend to tell a friend. Come on through the 95 North Falcons Talk Show. Come on through Dirty Bird Central. Come on through Twitter. Let's have fun week one. Let's break records, man. We have 500 people here. Let's get 1,000 eyes for next Wednesday.
We've got something in store for you guys that I don't think anyone else does. Not going to put it out there, right? Because just like the NFL, it's a little bit of a copycat league. So you'll have to wait and see. If you want to see what it is, just be there on Wednesday.
It can't be copycat if you originated in it. And I'll leave you on that note. We will see you Wednesday. Yeet.